Hello and welcome back to Blues Armory, where today I'm going to walk you through my custom Mandalorian. So I actually did one of these videos about 4 years ago when I built my first custom Mandalorian, and I walked through what the process was of making it and showed off some of the parts. Now, over the last 4-ish months, I was putting together my own custom Mandalorian for MEFCC, so I thought I'd get together, get the stuff out, and walk you through what my current custom Mandalorian is like, and show you the progress that I've made across 4 years of building. Or, well, building, then taking a 4-year break, and then getting back into building. I built this Mandalorian for Middle East Film and Comic Con. I built one for myself and one for Jess. I'm super proud of the kit that I've managed to put together. It went through a lot of changes. A lot. But I'm really happy to finally have had it done and wear it, and it's pretty comfortable. So we'll start from the top down and work our way all the way down, right down to the boots. So let's start off with the centerpiece of the armor, the helmet. So this is my helmet of my custom Mandalorian. It is actually just a Black Series helmet. It's a Black Series re-armored Boba Fett. It's the Book of Boba Fett Black Series helmet. I already had it lying around. I repainted it once just for fun because I got it on sale. And then for this one, I thought instead of 3D printing a whole new helmet, I had this one here, and this would be a fun exercise to paint it. So it being the Black Series helmet means we can do this. Pretty cool. And it means that it has the awesome internals for you to have a look at if you're displaying the inside of your helmet. A couple of things I had to do to make sure that this was my helmet and not a Boba Fett helmet was to get rid of a lot of the weathering that was already on the Boba Fett helmet and fill in the Boba Fett dent, which I did with a lot of rounds of filling and then painting over it. And then I went with this really rusty, sort of worn, weathered look as I was going with my Mandalorian. I wanted a really weathered Mandalorian, as if they were spent 40 years on a harsh desert planet, because it kind of reflected a bit of where I live in the desert climate. So that's the color scheme that I went for Mandalorian. So there's a few things I wish I could change about this helmet, and I'm looking at. One, I don't think the visor is dark enough. That's an issue with the Black Series helmets because they are display pieces and toys. The visor is probably not dark enough. I did make a mess of the visor while painting it, so I'd like to have a go at that, and then just have another go at the paint scheme, because there are a few things that I don't like about this paint scheme. But overall, I actually really like this helmet, and I'm really proud of the work that I was able to do on it. So like I said, for the helmet, I was going for this really weathered sand, sort of desert Mandalorian look. Basically with this, I really wanted to challenge myself with weathering. I've always loved weathering when it's come to costuming, so I really wanted to make this look truly worn in. With that, let's move on down to the torso chest armor pieces, starting with the chest piece. So here is my chest piece for my Mandalorian. It's the Death Watch style chest piece, which is all in one, and then with the recessed iron heart as well. I originally started with like a Din Djarin Season 2 chest piece, finished it, weathered it, did everything, and then realized that it was a little bit too big. Always size up your things before you print and finish them. And then I just kind of realized that I don't love the Season 2 Din Djarin chest piece look, so I looked around to see if I could find any other files, and I got this file from Buck the Mando, I believe. Printed it out, and it was a really easy print to do. Again, this might be a little bit too small. I've had a couple of people on Facebook groups say to me that it's probably a little bit too small to be approved. I think it looks quite cool, but maybe that's something I need to look at doing before going for any approval with the clubs. Same thing with the back piece, very boring. It's just a Mandalorian Season 1, Din Djarin, his first kit. Back piece, I realized I needed a back piece, didn't have one, so decided to get this one. This is from the wonderful Great Ape Studio. Darren makes some incredible files, and you'll see a few more of those as we go along the kit, but not much to say about the back plate. So let's move on to the shoulders. This is something, again, that I am quite happy with how they turned out, but it's maybe something I would change just for the overall look of my kit. These are the sort of Din Djarin Season 2 pauldron style shoulder bells. I mean, they're all right. I don't love how they sit on my kit at the moment. Someone on one of the Facebook groups, an incredible maker called Colin Adams, goes by Odd Viking on a lot of the forums. He pointed out to me that my shoulders are probably mounted about here because that feels natural for me. But if you look at the references on a lot of the Mandalorians in the TV show, the shoulders are actually sort of these low slung shoulders. I didn't quite have time to change that with all the Velcro and all the rigging with it before Comic-Con. So that's definitely something I have to look at. Again, we've got one brown and one tan, one red and one tan. I wanted to add like a little bit of colour because I think Mandalorians that maybe just are all one colour don't look as cool, and they, well, not that there's anything wrong with it, but I wanted to have that like pop of colour, so I went with a slightly dark red throughout my kit. So you'll see pops of that red throughout the kit, and I think it just adds a little bit more to the kit. But yeah, happy with the shoulders, but yeah, I think we're gonna have to change them for a different style at some point, but they worked for the time being. So here are my gauntlets. They are a Kit 2 Beskar Armor Din Djarin set of gauntlets. Again, from the incredible Great Ape Studio. These were an absolute ease to print. They were super easy, apart from the mistakes that completely came from me. So we'll start with the first gauntlet. This is my left gauntlet. I'm not sure if that's correct or not, whether it should be the left or right, but this is what I wear on my left. Remember, my lefts and rights. So these were super fun to put together. They went together pretty nicely. Mine has a little bit of an issue. If you can see, I just messed something up and they don't quite go together like they should go about here, and then instead to get them to close, they're kind of like that. That's entirely user error. It's got nothing to do with the files. Again, painted in this red, and then we put in this nice display. Let's see if you can see that. Yeah, we've got this nice display running through, which I think adds a little layer of detail. That is just a LED name tag. I've used these before in Mandalorian kits, and it's a really cheap way to add some electronics, and it looks super cool. So on the inside, it's a bit of a mess. So on one side, this is a technique again that I've seen other people use. We have elastic that helps it open and close, and then on the other side we just have some magnets in there as well so that it can snap shut. I did have to put in a little bit of foam on the inside just because they weren't fitting exactly tight enough, so we just added in a little bit of scrap foam that I had around, and they hold together pretty nicely. What I did find is that wearing them around the house and trying out the costume, it worked perfectly fine, and then when I actually got to go to Comic-Con, I just, with all the flight suit on and everything and the gloves, I could not get them to close. So in the pictures I'll show you from Comic-Con, I actually had some elastic wrapped around the gauntlets for the day just to try and hold them closed, which is not ideal, but I had to do it to make it work. The right side gauntlet, this is with the whistling birds. This one came together a little bit better. The seams are nicely held together, and it does just open and close nicely on that seam. So this one was a little bit less of a disaster. Again, we've got the foam on the inside, and then also the other party trick is we have the whistling birds. It's probably not the best job in the entire world. I did mess up cleaning out some of the holes and filled the holes with some too much glue. So as you can see, not all of them quite have the light shining through, but these are basically just some fairy lights that I bought off Amazon for basically nothing. And then into the recess of the gauntlet, we literally just have some Velcro holding it in, which is not the most elegant solution, but you can just pull out this battery thing here, and it can go on and off, and that is literally just powered by watch batteries. It's a pretty rough and ready way of doing it, but it works really well, and these watch batteries last. I managed to get through a whole day of a con and not have a single issue with the battery, and they're still going. So yeah, that's my other gauntlet. Moving down the arm, we have the gloves. Gloves, surprisingly, one of the most difficult things I found to try and get into this kit. I ended up going with these yellow gardening gloves. They definitely aren't perfect. and they don't quite fit me. Like my pinky doesn't quite fit into the glove, so they always felt like quite loose. I've got this weird bit of gap here, which is definitely something I'd need to adjust on the kit, but they have the hand plates attached to them on the back just by Velcro. I know you can see a little bit of a Velcro just here at the back. That's okay, because they were covered by the gauntlets, so you didn't notice them because they get tucked into the gauntlets, so no one needs to worry about that, and don't at me. The next thing up is why did I try and reach for them without looking, is the knees. These are Bo-Katan knees. I was originally going to print them for Jess for her Bo-Katan style kit, and then she didn't really want knees on, so I actually just painted them up and used them for myself. Again, printed in that brown, and then they have the old black elastic strap. So for the bottom of my legs, one of the big things now happening with a lot of Mandalorians is foregoing any shin and foot armor and going with some sort of gaiter or chap or whatever you like to call it. So I have these. Funnily enough, they're nothing special. They're nothing impressive. They are a camouflage, like very tacky camouflage, sort of hiking gaiter. The material is just really not nice, and they Velcro up at the back and have the loop on the bottom for your foot to go in. They came in this horrible, like truly horrible camo. I'll put a picture up somewhere. And I just painted them brown, literally just with acrylic paint, and somehow it worked. And they look great, and I'm really happy with how they turned out. So that's sort of the bottom, and then finally, let's have a look at the boots. Finally, we have the boots. These are a pair of Skechers, and they are not quite the Skechers Blaine Orsons that were worn in The Mandalorian by Pedro Pascal himself, but these are the ones that I could find, and they are so comfortable. Remember, you're going to be trooping or wearing this around a con all day, not a lot of a chance to sit down. Comfortable shoes will change your life. Skechers are incredible. If you can get a pair of these, I can't remember what these were called because they're on a sale and they didn't actually have a name, it just said Skechers boot. But these are amazing. I've worn these outside of the costume, and because, you know, they're probably leather, they wear and gain weathering without you having to adjust anything on them, and they are super comfortable, and I think they look great on the kit. So that's the boots. So let's move on to the soft parts of the armor. So all my soft armor parts and my undersuit and everything were bought from the pretty infamous Chinese cosplay Din Djarin costume. A lot of Mandalorian cosplayers, not just named characters, but custom Mandalorians have used this undersuit because for like $130 you can get it for. It's a pretty great base. I got mine for about $130. Paid about 500 dirhams for that, which will make no sense to a lot of people watching. And look, it works. It is an absolute mess at the moment because it's been sat in a container since Comic-Con, but it's the top half. It comes with all the lovely top stitching that is on the Mandalorian costume, the double sleeves. It's a fairly accurate suit. The only thing I had to deal with is that I ordered it probably ambitiously, let's say, a little bit too small, and realized I'd put on a bit of extra weight. So what I did is underneath the arms, I just got some sort of gussets added in so that I had more range of movement. And then on the trousers, because I am getting fat, I had to actually not even just do that, I had to get them to add some extra material on the sides, which you can see here. I had to get about 1 inch on each waist, just to keep up with my ever-expanding waistline. But the suit is okay. It's fairly high quality. It's not the most comfortable thing in the world. I had my Django undersuit and vest custom made here, and it's really soft and comfortable and nice, and the fabric's nice, and I got to pick the material, whereas with this, it's a very stiff fabric. It's not super comfortable, but you know, in an hour in it and you forget about comfort anyway because you're sweating so much. But let's have a look at the flak vest now. Here is the flak vest that came with this Mandalorian set from China. it's got these horrible leather straps on the top, but that's probably the only downside of it. Overall, I think it's really good. It's sort of quilted. It's got, again, all the nice top stitching on it, and it's actually really nice to wear and use, and just needed some weathering. As you can see, we just made sure that it was all nice and weathered and didn't look brand new. The front has got Velcro on it because I'm lazy, and I know a lot of people will say to you, and I would say as well, don't stick Velcro straight onto your soft parts because it's not durable and it will come off in the wash and it'll just fall apart. But I didn't listen to my own advice, which is funny because for the back plate, we put snaps in. So I can clearly put snaps in things, but at this point I just don't know what I was doing. But the flak vest is really nice. Again, with the sizing of this, it's probably a little bit too short for me. I probably need a bigger flak vest, but that's okay because it then connects to the cummerbund, which we have here, which, again, same cosplay suit and then just weathered. And then the way I get away with the sizing thing is I just pull the cummerbund a little bit up. So I'm a little bit wonky in proportions, but it just means that everything lines up perfectly. So that's it for the soft part. I'm going to show you some of the accessories now that I've put into my Mandalorian kit. So next up is my belt. It's the wrong way around. So next up is my belt, which is quite hard to see. So this is my bottom belt as a Mandalorian. Weapons are part of my religion, so I need lots of space for them. This is a old belt that I just had lying around that we've sort of thrifted and bought a load of different pouches and parts to put on with it. So starting with the pouch that sits around the back of my kit is this leather pouch that I use for my phone because I want it to be out of sight mostly, and I need to carry my phone at all points during a con because I want to take pictures of people. So we have this leather pouch. I've weathered it down a little bit. It was very, very shiny and nice when I got it, but that's what it looks like now. Then flanking the belt buckle, we have these two actually old cigarette cases that I found on Amazon for absolutely no money whatsoever. And then we took some sandpaper to them, weathered them down, and made sure they looked super used and nice. We'll come back to the belt buckle. This is a hot sauce holder that I bought from a local crafter here who makes hot sauce, and his wife makes hot sauce holders. I should have weathered it to put it in, but also I didn't want to ruin it because it's really, really nice. And then finally, just the holster for my blaster, which I will show you next. And then finally on the belt, we have this 3D printed belt buckle that I have. I found it on Thingiverse. I printed it up, whipped it up, painted it, weathered it, made it look nice, and I think it just adds something to it. And it's just Velcroed on, like nothing fancy at all. It's just held on by Velcro. Next up we have the top belt. This is the belt that came with the crappy Chinese Mandalorian costume. I kept some things on it and then changed some others. Obviously the Mandalorian has these little cartridges for his Ambon pulse rifle, so I actually just printed out a set of them and weathered them up and then just popped them in there. And then the original belt buckle on this was made of a fake leather and it just looked horrible, so I sort of just cut it out of where it was, where you can actually see some of it left. Printed out a new belt buckle, finished it, weathered it, and then added that to the costume. That's almost everything, so I've got a few more accessories to show you that go on to the costume. Let's start with this little cartridge holder that sits above my leg, between my knee and my leg. I just thought it added a nice little bit of extra detail. We added in these cartridges and weathered them up, and I think these look amazing. These were so much fun to print and weather and make, and I actually think the weathering on this looks incredible. Not to toot my own horn. Then let's move on to weapons, starting with my backup weapon, I suppose. It is a 3D printed Mandalorian knife that I printed and then wrapped the handle in this sort of lovely fake leather, which I think looks really good. And then we printed out the blade and weathered it up nicely. I'm actually really happy with this. That literally took me like a couple of hours to do that. And then the thing that I'm not super happy with on this build, but this is what we went with, is my Mandalorian style blaster. look, it's not perfect. I do like the leather wrapped handle as opposed to the Mandalorian's wooden handle. It's really not perfect. There's a lot of issues on the back of the print. I probably just didn't give this the time and attention and love that it deserved. I was actually going to use 2 different other blasters, and then this is the one I ended up taking, which was probably a bad idea. So that's about everything of my custom Mandalorian. Hopefully I've put some pictures throughout here so you can see what the costume looked like overall. I actually didn't get that many pictures of my costume over the weekend, but yeah, this took me about 3-4 months to put together, 3D printing and finishing everything. I spent more money than I'm willing to admit on it, but my next stage for this is to try and possibly get this started with a Mandalorian Mercs approval, because obviously this can't go into the 501st being a custom Mandalorian, but that's okay. So there's a few things I want to tweak, but overall I'm just really, really proud of this armor and what I created. It's such a massive step up from my first Mandalorian armor 4 years ago, and I'm really excited to see what I can produce next. But if you enjoyed this video, why not drop me a subscribe and follow along to Blue's Armory to see more of some Star Wars costuming. I hope you liked the video. If you did, why not give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. For anyone that is looking to build a Mandalorian, and if you have any questions about building a Mandalorian or 3D printing a Mandalorian, you can ask me down in the comments below. You can catch me on Instagram and ask me a question there, or go have a look at the wonderful Mandalorian Mercs website, because there's fantastic resources on there. Until then, I will see you on the next video. Happy crafting and goodbye.